Welcome back, folks, for a new episode of Leaked. Here is the Sandbox client for World of Tanks. So this is where the global rebalancing, Balance 2.0, is currently being developed. Now I did not log in because I was afraid of getting my account suspended because it's not released yet, so I pussied out. But with Tank Inspector, you can pull the data from the Sandbox directory so you can check out all the stats of the vehicles currently in testing. And it's mostly tier 10 nerfs, but special thanks to Seb and the rest of the team of the Armor Patrol blog. They are the ones who posted the download link for the Sandbox. Now, inspecting and analyzing all the vehicles on the Sandbox client would take a lot of time, so I gather up all the averages of the stats that got changed. And these stats are mostly manipulated stats, so Wargaming made these stats up, like health, aim time, DPM. It's all non-physical, whereas physical stats are more like the tank's armor, the tank's top speed or horsepower per ton ratio based on the weight, the gun depression or elevation. So those are more factual than the DPM. You get it. Also the price, the terrain resistance, the radios were not changed. Dispersion on the move in full traverse of the turret and hull got nerfed across the board, other than artillery, which got buffed. So they're more accurate at moving and shooting, but that's not much. So as you can see, only tier 10 that got mostly changed on the Sandbox client. Now, the developers did mention they will change tier 9 and tier 8 more drastically, but first they are focusing on tier 10s. So tier 9 and tier 8s are partially changed. But let's take a look at tier 10s. So as you can see, the vehicle class that got mostly changed was artillery. The normal average penetration for artillery's high explosive shell is 107.8 millimeter. On the Sandbox version, it's 18 millimeter. The average alpha is decreased by almost a half. Wow, that's dramatic. DPM also gets dramatically decreased. So artilleries are no longer high penetrating, high alpha. They're still the relatively same speed at firing, so wow, that sucks. That really sucks. The gun's accuracy is the same. They do get a buff in aim time, but with the crappy artillery shells, that doesn't mean much. They also get a nerf towards hull traverse and view range by 50. So these vehicles are blind, not as accurate, faster to aim, but crappier high explosive shell. So Jesus, artillery is getting it rough. I don't know if they deserve it, but that's pretty harsh. Now let's take a look at the mediums. The mediums have less penetration for gold shell, less alpha, less DPM, so not as hard punching, less accuracy, or more accuracy, but not as good. And faster aim time though, so slight buff, but hull traverse and turret traverse gets nerfed. Same goes for health and view range. So they cannot be the main battle tanks and carry the team all the time now. So you have to focus on flanking and supporting the heavy tanks. The heavies gets a nerf in gold pen, gets slightly nerfed in alpha and DPM, but not as much. Accuracy is nerfed, so not as accurate, but faster to aim slightly. Now the traverse decrease also gets hit hard with the heavy tanks. So 27.3 degrees per second on the normal account, and it's only 19.4 on the Sandbox version. Hull traverse is also pretty bad, so 21.6 degrees per second on the Sandbox. Ugh, that's pretty rough. HP is relatively the same, slightly, so that's okay, but the view range also gets changed down towards medium tanks level. So if you have a fast moving heavy tank, you cannot be a main battle tank with it. So yeah, these vehicles are becoming blind. Tank destroyers gets a slight nerf towards penetration and alpha. So alpha, gold pen, and normal pen. DPM gets shafted by 25 or 20-ish%. So 2,554 to 2,154. that's 20-ish%, right? So math sucks, but that's pretty huge for tank destroyer. But they do have a good buff towards accuracy and aim time. So TDs are more focused on sniping and hitting targets rather than DPMing somebody else. Oh, I like the DPM rather than the accuracy. So that's I can improve accuracy by crew. I can improve DPM, but this is just too much. Aim time also gets buffed, so you're faster to aim. That's good, but crappy DPM doesn't mean a thing. Ugh. So turret traverse gets nerfed, so gun traverse speed nerfed. Hull traverse nerfs a lot, so it's a lot slower than the heavy tanks or mediums. So health gets buffed, so a little bit more health, and not as good view range, even more. So basically, all the vehicles gets nerfed with view range and traverse, and slightly with the penetration. Some of them, but yeah. So basically, they want the light tanks to spot and have a role, have a purpose on the battlefield. And the medium tanks are not as OP. Same goes for the heavies. And tank destroyers are more focused on sniping rather than DPMing somebody, which I do not like, but whatever. So the tier 9s did not get changed mostly. So basically the penetration of the shells did not change. Stuff did not change. I double checked just to be sure. So you can take a look. Same goes for tier 8s other than the light tanks. So cut off right here. But the light tanks on the sandbox version of the game on the vehicle has less alpha and less DPM on average, but they're a little bit more accurate at the cost of aim time. So not as fast to aim, and traverse for the turret is slower, but have a faster hull traverse with tremendous boost towards view range. So here you can see it's a lot better. So it's 430 on average, and that's near the max. So basically every vehicle at tier 10 gets shaved off from view range, and the light tanks gets a buff. So they want to focus light tanks with a more definite purpose on the battlefield, and the rest of the vehicles get super nerfed. So if you're following this trend, then the tier 9s and tier 8s will get a massive view range nerf, like massive. These would like super decrease towards like 300 meters, and tier 6 or tier 5s will get like 100 meter of view range. So basically 100 meters of view range for tier 5s and like 50 for tier 1s or tier 2s. Whoa, that's wow. I mean, the engine's limit, the engine that runs World of Tanks, has a limit of 445 meters of view range. So that's the limit. But if everybody gets shifted downwards, then I don't know what's going to happen at low tiers, like a KV1's view range of like 100 meters or 150. Oh. But it changed the scale dramatically. So that is the general direction pre-release of the sandbox. So the sandbox is a test for the actual super test server before the actual test server, and I'm releasing stuff that's pre-sandbox. So I don't know, but based on the current trend, the meta will shift towards, I don't know, but medium tanks are no longer the top of the tier, so nobody will play medium tanks as much as they do because the change towards view range and DPM and the accuracy not as good. So I don't know, but heavy tanks are slower to turn with less alpha, so they don't punch as hard. Tank destroyers don't have that much DPM, but they're a little bit more accurate and even slower to turn with even blinder eyes. So, and the artillery are just artillery. Bottom of the barrel. But what will become of the meta? I still believe medium tanks, well, the health is not as much as well. Well, medium tanks and heavy tanks are still, well, I don't know. If this is true balance, then I am stumped. So I just hate the DPM shaft from the tank destroyers. That's a lot of DPM loss. Like a lot, but it's a lot more accurate though. So basically tank destroyers are focusing on sniping now, What about the Yak Panzer E100? That's not a sniping vehicle. It's an assault gun. It has armor, so just give it more DPM. Blah. But there you go, folks. That's the initial analyzation of the Tier 10 changes on the Sandbox pre-release. So, yeah, but from the Sandbox, there are a few Easter eggs as well. So, the following Tier 10 vehicles are getting a HD rework. So here is the T57 Heavy with the 50 cal on top. So this is likely coming soon. The 113 also gets HD rework. So you have the Dushka on top now. And the FE215B183. So it's getting the 50 cal on top with 2 antennae. That's pretty cute. But those are the 3 Tier 10 vehicles. I was about to say Tier 8. But those are the Tier 10 vehicles that's getting a HD rework. So yeah, there you go, folks. I'll post any new news about the Sandbox as soon as possible. But for now, it's basically nerf across the board. Nerf them all. Nerf. Super nerf bad all across the board. But thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.